Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit.
Jason Van Dyke is about to walk out of prison as a free man, barely 3 years removed from this moment.
Appropriate sentence would be 81 months in the Illinois Department of Corrections.
The convicted former Chicago police officer will have served less than half that sentence for shooting and killing LaQuan McDonald.
I didn't think he would be out this soon.
Neither did the activists and investigative journalists who fought relentlessly for prosecutors to do something they hadn't done in more than half a century, charged a Chicago police officer with murder on the job.
The verdict is far more important than the sentence, and I'm not sure we would be in a different place as a city right now if Jason Van Dyke had gotten 12 years or 20 years.
If Jason Van Dyke does return here to Chicago, it's not the same city he once patrolled. The department that fired him is under a federal consent decree mandating changes in things like transparency, sparked by the fatal shooting he committed and the cover-up that followed.
We are not where we want to be when it comes to police reform and accountability, but we are further along in 2+ years of doing this work than any other city that has been under a consent decree.
Now every officer in the Chicago Police Department wears body cameras.
They know that now people are really watching everything, and it's not just here, it's worldwide.
Has it changed enough?
No.
Activists like William Calloway are demanding federal civil rights charges against the former officer that they hope would keep him locked up. In Chicago, Liz Nagy, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Family, family, family. And we are back together to have a conversation about the legal justice system, the state-sanctioned soldiers, the killers of young African Americans or African Americans, period. The police officers who have qualified immunity, special protections, all of those wonderful things that allow them to perform their job with little worry of the death, the destruction, the discrimination of African American men, women, and children. So family, this police officer, he went through the legal justice system after having been found to be guilty of killing LaQuan McDonald. And so he was sentenced to 12 years in incarceration. Yet he is being released early due to the rigmaroles of the system, plus the outside support of those who love killer cops and those who support them in any in all of their actions. So family, we must revisit the story of this killer cop, the one who fired 16 shots into the body of one of our young brothers who was dealing with mental issues at the time, as so confirmed by the family. So what was the story? The 2018 conviction of former police officer Jason Van Dyke for the killing of Black teenager LaQuan McDonald marked an early important moment in Chicago's history. It was the first time in roughly half a century that a member of the police force was found guilty of murder for an off-duty killing, and it gave hope to many residents that their officers could be held accountable. Van Dyke's scheduled release from prison on Thursday after serving about 3 years and 4 months, less than half of his sentence of 6 years and 9 months, show things aren't so simple. This is the ultimate illustration that Black lives don't matter as much as other lives, said Reverend Marshall Hatch, a prominent minister on the city's west side. To get that short amount of time for a murder sends a bad message to the community. Van Dyke, who shot McDonald 16 times in 2014, including several times after the 17-year-old had crumpled to the ground, leaves prison at a tenuous time for the city and its police force. Chicago is experiencing a surge in violent crime and had more homicides last year than in any of the last quarter century. The city continues to pay multi-million-dollar settlements to victims of police abuse. And just this week, prosecutors said they would vacate the convictions of nearly 50 more people who were framed or falsely accused by police of drug crimes. To be sure, the shooting of the Black teenager by a white officer eventually led to a court-ordered consent decree that resulted in several reforms, including the creation of a civilian-led police oversight board and new rules governing investigations into police shootings. And after the city refused to release the police video of McDonald's killing for more than a year, and only did so after being ordered to by a judge, it now must release such videos within 60 days. But reforms have come slower than expected, and the city has struggled to meet some of the consent decree's deadlines. Not only that, but just as then Mayor Rahm Emanuel fought the release of the McDonald's video, Mayor Lori Lightfoot's administration tried to prevent a TV station from airing video of a botched police raid in which an innocent Black woman was handcuffed while naked. Ultimately, that raid led to a $2.9 million settlement with the woman and Jeanette Young. To Hatch and others, Van Dyke's early release is another reminder of what they already knew. It just reinforces this feeling of hopelessness in African American communities and reinforces the thought that police can continue their oppressive behavior in those communities and be either exonerated or given light sentences, said Chico Tillman, a senior research fellow at the University of Chicago Crime Lab and a former gang member. I served 16 years and 3 months for conspiracy to sell drugs, and somebody who committed murder openly, publicly, did 3.5 years, he said. This kind of thing happens over and over. Hatch's anger stems in part from a sense that the criminal justice system can tantalizingly close to finally working for a Black victim No, the criminal justice system came tantalizingly close to finally working for a Black victim of police violence before the judge called a legal audible by sentencing Van Dyke only for second-degree murder, a charge that allows defendants to serve half their sentences if they behave in prison, and not any of the 16 counts of aggravated battery. The battery charge carries a sentence of 6 to 30 years in prison, and those convicted of it must serve at least 85% of the term they receive. After seeing how the city fought to keep the public from seeing the video of McDonald's killing and how prosecutors only charged Van Dyke hours before the world finally got to see the damning footage, Hatch said he was hopeful when the jury found the officer guilty. I feel like the jury did its job. Then the judge gave such a lenient sentence. Craig Futterman, a University of Chicago law professor who helped lead the push to force the city to release the video, agrees, calling the sentence a slap in the face for Black folks and those of us who care about police accountability. But at the same time, Futterman said, it was next to unbelievable that there was a prosecution and a conviction for murder. And although McDonald's great uncle, the Reverend Marvin Hunter, believes the sentence was woefully inadequate, he said it doesn't take away from the significance of the case. Had Van Dyke gotten 1 day in jail, it would have been a victory because he was the first, said Hunter. Since then, police across the country are getting convicted of murdering Black people. Joseph McMahon, the special prosecutor who led a team of attorneys that secured Van Dyke's conviction and who asked the judge to impose an 18 to 20-year sentence, said he hopes people don't think Van Dyke escaped punishment. I know this is difficult to accept, especially for minority communities marginalized by police and the criminal justice system for decades. But this, the conviction and sentence, is a sign of progress, he said. Any length of time for a former cop is difficult, McMahon added. He was physically attacked, spent most of the time in isolation, and that is the result of the very real danger he faced day in and day out for the last 3.5 years. The way Hatch sees it, Van Dyke's release couldn't come at a worse time for the police department, which has been scrambling to regain public trust that the McDonald case helped to shatter. They're trying to restore faith in law enforcement. And now we have this, he said. And it will absolutely make it harder to get people to come to complain or make complaints about cops. So family, we see the mechanisms of evil continue to torment those of us of the diaspora. And our hope and our faith and our work and our walk as we toil on this continent of confusion and captivity, those of us who are productive and good citizens paying taxes. We are paying taxes to states that are hiring killers who are able to destroy us, get away with it freely or lightly, and be protected while doing so all the way through the process. And we continue to endure. But at some point in time, we, family, must become fed up. The fear by which they use to institute their terror upon us, they should and must know the same terror for their lives, livelihoods, family, and very existence. Thus saith the Lord. as it is written, and it shall be, as we continue in our walk of righteousness, of study, of practice of the holy law. We shall witness the crumble of the beast, Babylon, Egyptian, Sodom and Gomorrah state of the United States of America. And we will continue to review the complexion for protection, the evils of the so-called democratic society, the hypocrisy of the application of the practice of liberty and justice for all. And until we are together again, I love you. I love you. I love you. To be continued. Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit.